Test, 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 test. 1, 2, 3. It is Thursday, my friends. Thank God Almighty. Finally, it is Thursday. Had to check out the old camera there. Hey, Tom and Chad. Good to see you. How's the audio video? Hopefully pretty decent. We're having a little fun already. I got a little early start, so the train reels might come off early on this one. Having fun with the Scotch for Dummies. Great show as usual, and good to see Mike come through with that Macallan edition 4. Man, I'm jealous because I've been looking for that myself, and I have not seen it locally anywhere. That's a tough tough bird to find, I should say. 2 is fantastic. That's the only one I've had of the edition so far. 1 is a unicorn bottle at this point. 3 I've heard is decent, lemon curd, lemon meringue pie kind of thing. Not really my wheelhouse. I'm not a big lemon fan, but I'll try it. And 4 I've heard is doing really well. Not sure if people like it better than the 2, but I have not heard any comparisons yet. That'd be good, something good to see the Scotch for Dummies do when they take a look at it. Hey, Lee G, thanks so much for check. Is this thing on? Yeah. Sometimes I gotta make sure that meter is still functioning. For some reason, I lost video. I think we're back, though. Is everything back? Is the feedback, guys? Sorry about that. I'm not sure why it dropped, unless there was might have been like a internet service provider issue, if you know what I mean. I think we're back in business, though. Let me know in the chat when you get a second. Bobby Purnell, good to see you, man. And I have not forgot about that Talisker Old Particular 8. Still on the radar, I promise you there. Bobby Purnell says that Glendronach Peated is one of, if not my favorite Highlands. Wow. Now that's saying something. The weird thing is that the Scotch for Dummies kind of hinted that I think this one was the one they were kind of not too keen with, but I know Tom R. and there was someone else. I think it might have been, Dram Dude from California. He said that he thought it was a pretty good bottle, and now Bobby's saying that it's one of his favorite Highlands. So you never know. I mean, it's just all subjective. I was not a big fan of the peated Portwood, and Mr. Lee has been gracious enough to give me a sample of that a while back. And when we were looking at it, it wasn't a horrible bottle by any means. There was 2 issues with that bottle. Number 1, it took 45 minutes for it to open up, and that is no exaggeration. It took 45 minutes for it to open. And even with that opening, the finish just was not giving us what we were looking for. That's why it ended up being like a 3 out of 5, that type of dram. Hopefully this one is not reminiscent of that, and it could be, depending on what kind of, I'm hoping that it was just a port, cask influence that caused it, but hopefully that's not the case with this guy here. We're going to find out here really soon. I'm looking at the comments over here. Lee says, save that water for the plant life and ice for your bad knee, Tom R. Yeah. Oh, here he goes, man. He's already putting out he's like the opposite of a fireman. He puts out water with fire. Bobby says the dummies thought it needed more time in the cask. I think it is young, but has a nice vibrancy to it. Just a refreshing dram. That is the truth. Like if you're going into a dram, just for example, let's pick the Lagavulin 8, right? you know, my first one was a 16. Now, and that is a classic. That is a perfect dram in many aspects according to my, you know, taste, my wants, my needs. When I had the 8, at first I was like, oh gosh, this is, I mean, it wasn't anywhere close to what I thought it was going to be like. And at first I wasn't a big fan. But when I reapproached it and I thought, you know, if I want like a young, vibrant breakfast dram that's got like the toast and the little bit of bacon and some ham, that kind of thing, then I can appreciate it for what it is. It's not supposed to be some, you know, super refined, well-aged whiskey. It's supposed to be pretty powerful, in your face, decent amount of peat with good flavor, and that does deliver, especially for, you know, 50, $60. It's a pretty good price point for 8 year, I think, for the Lagavulin. So I do prefer the 16 most of the time, but you never know when you're going in for something like that. And hopefully, you know, this is one of those things where it's going to be a niche, I should say, but you know, it's going to fit something that I'm looking for at some point, and I'm sure I'll be able to come back to that. It is a little light in color, but you know, with it being an NAS, I'm not surprised. Do not remember this at the expo, other than a quick, you know, pop in taste. I remember enjoying it to a point, but I'm not going to look at their notes too much. I don't want to be influenced by that. Nice presentation, you know. Brown Foreman is the new guy in town for Glendronach. So interesting to see if how this goes with them. I'm trying to see if there's any like information about Brown Foreman on their packaging. Interestingly enough, I do not even see any link to them on it. I'm wondering why that is, because I think I remember on the new 12 bottle I got that it does have at least the name Brown Foreman on it. I'll have to go look later on just to verify that. But interesting. So let's see. I remember that the trying to remember the Scotch for Dummies were thinking that I should go with one of these first, but I'm always going to go with a non-peated first because of just the way peat works with palate. Uh, if I tried the peated first and then went for the Glengoyne 18, I don't think it would work very well. I really don't. So these are actually flip-flopped where I should go actually in order of this guy. So we'll talk about the Glengoyne 18 first. Now, I had a Glengoyne 12 before, and I will say that it wasn't a bad flavor. It was just a little thin for my typical taste. You know, I usually go for a little more, you know, I got like a little more thickness, a little meat on the bone, you know, that kind of thing. And going for the 10s and 12s on a lot of these Highlands and Space Size particularly, they just don't cut the mustard for me. If you know, look for an Ardbeg 10, a Lefroy 10, Ben Nevis 10 is an exception to the rule. I was talking about with Everwin, one of my friends here in DC, about 10s being tough to find that are good outside of Isla, Campbelltown, you know, Talisker, the islands, that type of area. A space side in the Highlands, it's hard to find a really good 10-year-old. The only exceptions I can think of are maybe a Benronic, maybe a Deanston. I'm not sure about a standard 10. I don't have a 10 PX cast strength, but that's a whole nother story. I'm trying to remember on the 10 side, but most of the 10s, like, you know, Glengoyne 10, Glen Grant 10, Glen Kinchy 12. Some of those just, you know, they're just really thin to me, and I'm just not a, you know, huge fan. But we're going to take a look at this Glengoyne with just subjective, you know, outside eyes. We're not going to think about the 12 experience. We're going to go in with an open mind. Now, the cool thing about this is it does supposed to be somewhat of a sherry bomb in a way. Now, Now I'm thinking Abelauer. That's one of the first distilleries I think of when I think sherry. Macallan. So if it's got that kind of pull, then we're going to be satisfied at least. It's supposed to be first and refill sherry casks on this 18. So that to me is it would be better if it was all first fill, but we can't be too picky, right? That's probably one of those 21, 25-year-old things that we'll have to look up down the road. It does have a beautiful nose. Oh my! It's only 43% ABV. Now that's one of my kind of feelings. The ABV for me should be 46 at a minimum. 48 is preferred. Cask strength's always acceptable, but 46 to 48 is a sweet spot right there. 43 most of the time leaves something lacking. Now, I'm not going to say that already with this guy. Man, this nose is really nice though. I mean, you get everything from like, and I'm not a licorice fan, but I do get some licorice in there, and in a more sweet way, taffy almost. Really nice ruby red fruit, deep ones like not just your raspberry, strawberry kind of thing, but like your plums, your prunes, your raisins, your figs. Balanced with really nice sweetness, some really like nice gumdrop and ginger and some confection sugar, powdered. Get some floral notes in there. Really, I mean, the nose is top notch. I have to give it credit. It doesn't smell like it's going to be thin. We'll put it that way. That to me is a good intro. Now let's see if there's anything else. 18-year, pretty much located at the junction point between lowlands and highlands, but remains technically in the later region. Launched in 2012 to replace the former and acclaimed 17-year-old. The 18 is a classic sherry and non-peated single malt. It is a result of the first and refill. So I have heard good stories about the old 17. Never tried it. Wasn't into Scotch at the time. But if I ever saw 17, I would be all over it, just on the nose alone. Oh, man. It would be interesting to see what a peated version of this would be like. Slightly. It doesn't have to be heavily peated. Just a little slight peat. That'd be fun. But sometimes I'm in the mood for no peat, and I just want a nice sherry like a Macallan Edition 2. And I think this will be right up my alley, hopefully. Good to see you back, everyone. Sorry I had computer problems. Did you warm up a little bit to the Oban Little Bay? We were talking earlier today around lunchtime, and for the Oban, which is a Diageo, the Diageo offering, Oban has the Oban. It has the 14 to 18 Distillers Edition and a Little Bay, which is their NAS. Now, even before I even talked to one of their representatives at an expo, after trying the 14-18 Little Bay in the Distillers Edition, the Little Bay seemed like it had the best taste, the best roundness, the best, if you took everything into consideration, price point, taste, not just about the age, but just, I thought the 14 and 18 was nice, but I like the little more power on the Little Bay taste. So I thought, that might be your best option for that. And even before talking to everyone about it, the guy was agreeing with me that, yeah, I mean, it wasn't just him. I've heard other people say that they thought the Little Bay was, one of their favorites of the four. So I mentioned to everyone if he thought, everyone was in harmony with that, if that made sense. So he's trying to second dream. He said, I want to see what he thinks on that one. Give us a few notes if you still think it's too much like a Glenfiddich. He was thinking it's kind of like a Glenfiddich clone in a way, which I'm not going to discount. I'm not a hater on Glenfiddich. If I had to pick between Glenfiddich and some other distilleries, I actually would be fine with Glenfiddich. I haven't yet had a bad dram. I like their Solera 15 a lot. I adore their 19 Age of Discovery bourbon cask. That thing is awesome. It's like an apple Danish, cheese Danish in a glass. I thought it was excellent. But you know, you get me a Kelpie and I'll get you a Mac Ford, says Chad. Oh man, I don't know. I only have a little bit of a sample left of that Kelpie. That I went through that pretty quick, my friend. I do know where I can get more Kelpie though. So yeah, I could hook you up maybe with something like that. We'll have to talk offline. Telex at outlook.com. That's TLEX at outlook.com, and maybe we can sort something up and see if we can come up with something. Because I would love to get my hands on a Macallan Forest somehow. I'm sure it's around here somewhere. Everyone says it tastes young, fresh, but not much development or finish, yet very fruity. Oak is coming through, but not the vanilla, almost a green apple. Okay. I'm not saying, what's the ABV on that, everyone? I can't remember. Now, I'm not saying add like a lot of water to it. I'm just talking like, if you could just dip your finger like in some water and let it just drip a couple times in it, see if that makes a difference on that. I see one of those Glenfiddich Age of Discovery bourbon casks. Yeah, Scout. If you like an apple Danish, if it's not an overly complex dram for a 19-year-old, I'm not saying that it's the best 19-year-old ever, but for taste, I could drink that like no problem. There's no burn at all. It's great tasting, smooth as hell. I love it. It's one of my favorite glasses I've ever had, really. I know some people aren't into it as much because it's Glenfiddich, but I can hang with that. All right, let's go for a taste on this guy. Oh, really nice, delicious red apples. Red delicious apple, I should say. And then more of that deeper fruit, like the plum and the prune comes in, the fig, the raisins. But you also get a really nice, almost like a tannin kind of a taste. Not overly bitter, though. It's really nicely balanced. And it brings in a finish of like dark chocolate, molasses, maybe even to the borderline of like sassafras root beer. I'm trying to think how dry. Is it too dry? Is it not dry at all? Let me have another sip. I'm into this one though. I'm not like completely sold. I might be more of a fan of a 21 or a 25, but for the price point for an 18-year-old Scotch, it's only 125 here at least. Might have been a slight sale on that, but I'm thinking, for an 18-year-old, 125-ish, give or take 10, I think that's a good deal. Let's see if we get the dryness or if we get, there's a little bit of white pepper in there on that finish too. It's not too overly dry. It's a nice mouth coat, surprisingly, for 43% too. It's not heavy, but I'd say it's medium. It's not, I wouldn't call it thin. Oily, buttery. I'm cool with that. The only thing I could ding it on really is the which had a little more ABV, just a couple, 46, 48. It could be a little heavier, but for 125 and an 18-year-old, man, it's hard to compete with that, really. Glenfarclas maybe can do it. I've heard that they're, they've got that similar kind of feel to the way they make whiskey. But if I want a sherry bomb like an Abinah, but I don't want to play with it with the water that much. I just want to go in, easy sip, enjoy it. I'm not in the peat mood. I just want something that's a nice sherry that will definitely do. Pretty good price too. Now, sometimes I will want my peat, so I want an Arbegugadal, of course, but if I'm leaning more towards an Abelauer or a Macallan, but I want something a little different, that Glengoyne 18 is going to be a really good option to go for, I think. If I had to pick a score, I'm thinking a 4 out of 5 is fair. I have to knock it for, let's see if it didn't really say anything about chill filtering or color. Now, it's not super duper dark for an 18. I don't think it's going to be colored. Let's see if we see anything here. Got a distillery manager. It's got some notes. They're really big about being patient and unhurried since 1833. From time in oak casks alone, natural color, so it's not colored. And I don't think it would be, let's see, unpeated, patience, oak cask maturation, tradition, and natural color. But what about chill filtering for 43? That is the question. Man, that one is going to be a little bit of a mystery. If anyone knows about Glengoyne, if they chill filter, I don't see any details about that. So that's a little bit of a mystery. I love the 21 Glengoyne. It is so amazing. Deep cinnamon and dark fruits. Okay, yeah. There is some spice with this. Sorry. There's some spice with the 18. There's some cinnamon in there. There's some nutmeg. But it's not, it's definitely more in the background. It would be interesting to see what the 21 would come to. Uh-oh. Lee G says I'm a lost cause at this point. I think he's talking about me. Play with water. Oh my God. Hey, if you're going to drink the Abelauer or Abinah, man, you can't just drink that. I mean, you can drink it straight, and I enjoy it straight to a point. But that's after I've already had like something else beforehand. If I go straight to the Abinah, it's going to need a couple drops, man. I mean, that stuff is 61, 62%. I mean, they didn't make it at that point for you just to drink straight, I don't think, without at least a couple of drops. I mean, we're talking minuscule drops, though. Nothing profound. Sounds like Glengoyne is only really good at advanced ages. The young stuff is, man. Yeah, everyone, I have to say that's the gist. I think the 15 is like the cutoff point. I wouldn't go younger than a 15. I wouldn't go, I think a 15 is a good entry level. 18 is a good solid. 125 is a good, it's a little pricey, I know, but it's a good dram. It's hard to get a good scotch, a really damn good scotch for under $100 at this point. The Abinah is a good example of that. It's $99. You do get it much more for your buck for ABV, though. I will give you with that. The Kellogg 2 is good. It's about $90-$100. It's about 46%. It's all relative. It's all pretty close by. A 25 is even more Christmas cake in a bottle. Quite sure that the distillery doesn't chill filter at all. Okay, Graham, gotcha. Huh. That's a good thing to know because it's a bonus if they don't. A 25 sounds tasty, but that's a pricey bottle. I think this is 125. 21 is about 180-ish, I think, comparatively to the 21. I'm sorry, the 18 from Glendronach. But the 25, man, I bet that is hot. I bet that's pricey. Chad saying Glengoyne has a class strength in AS. Yeah, I've heard about that. I haven't seen it yet. If I do see it, I will definitely snag it to see what it's like. I'm just curious. The cast strength 10 is also just as excellent, and for the age, $80 Canadian. Wow. Huh. Glen Scotia 15 is well below 100 and very, very. I agree with you. I mean, that's a rarity, though, everyone, I think, is to find a 15-year-old Scotch that's under 100 and that is still kick-ass great. Unfortunately, I have a feeling that when more people like you and I figure out that Glen Scotia 15 is great, it's going to sell a lot better, and the price is going to go up. So, you know how you felt about Bunahov in 12 and 18 about 2 or 3 years ago. I have a bad feeling that if we talk about it too much, it's probably going to, you know, be an issue. All right. Tom wants to get to the peated, or he's going to fall asleep here, and I'm with you there. I will finish this, though. That's for sure. It's really good. 4 out of 5, I think, on that. Let's have a little cleanse, though, so we're not tainted. Hey, Loch Ness, good to see you, man. Chad Adams just opened my Glengoyne cast strength last week, really enjoying it. Ooh, I bet that's good. Because that's one thing that would be awesome to try is a younger cast strength version of this juice. I bet it's pretty good. All right. Please don't be bad. I don't think it's going to be bad, but I don't know. Okay, now this guy, we're going to take a quick look at some notes. And I'm using distiller.com, and they're really good about having some really nice, concise notes about just basic information. 43 ABV. That's not what I was hoping for, but it's better than 40, right? I'll take 43 above 40. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong. Hold on, I'm looking at the wrong screen. Let me go back here. I messed up. My fault, guys. Sorry about that. Glendronach, and we'll do a peated. There we go. 46. Now we're talking. All right. Ex-bourbon, finished in ex-Oloroso sherry and ex-Pedro Jimenez sherry. All right. Now, see, that's already music to my ears. Just the fact that it's got some bourbon still in there, give a little bit of girth, a little bit of oomph to the taste. It's finished in Oloroso and ex PX, which is going to give it some extra sweetness, which is right up my alley. Now, as long as it's not super duper dry or a huge lack of finish, we should be in good shape. The funny thing is, I've been setting these out for a while, so they've had more than enough time to open up. I poured them out a while back. One thing I didn't look at these guys, let's just see on the Glengoyne and how the wow. Not really that. It holds up pretty well, actually. That's a heavy mouth coat. Let's see medium, I should say, mouth coat. Let's see what we get on this peated. If it's similar, or if it's looser, or if it's nice and this might even be a heavier deal. Really nice legs, all over the place, but not too runny. You do get peat off the nose. Subtle though, not definitely not like an Isla. This has a little more citrus, I think, in it. Not bad, but I'm trying to think of. And then your typical, vanillas and your peat. Trying to dig in without getting too deep, because that peat really will mess with your nose if Definitely getting oranges, lemon, more of the lighter fruits on this guy. Maybe a white grape. No smoke on the nose. The peat is definitely there. Very subtle though. It's a bit dry. Definitely heavy on the fruit, which is not a bad thing. It's not overly sweet, but it's not overly savory either. Nice balance. Some honey, like honeycomb. Hmm. Slight smoke, but very, very, very little. Nice oily, buttery taste on the finish, but some of the fruit still lingers around. A little short, though. Hmm. All right, I'll try that. Good idea. Yeah, it's almost like the peat is really hot. I mean, 46 is not like hot, but the peat is it's so young and needs a little something to tame it a little bit, to round it out a little bit. I think Tom's on to something here. Don't listen, Lee. Close your ears. Let's do this justice. So let's get the old dropper out. Be right back, guys. Yeah, I forgot to bring my dropper by. That was my mistake, but that's okay. That's thankfully it wasn't far away. Not sure where Mama is tonight. Hopefully everything's going well. I talked to her a couple days ago just to say hey, but she's busy with work as always. Hopefully you're doing all right, Mom, if you're watching after the fact. Ooh, it's a little bitty bit. See, I poured most of it back in the water glass. Lee should be proud of me. Oh. It's funny because the peat is it's young and vibrant, so it really wrecks your palate a little bit when you, not in a bad way, but it's just kind of, I could feel it got kind of mingled in there. Let's go back in for another one. Lee won't even say anything. He's just like, I might not. Lee was under the weather. He was planning on being here with me this week, but hope he'll feel better, man. If he ever does come, I'm gonna have to hide all my water stuff because he's probably gonna try to break it or something. My mom will kick your ass, man, because she got me that stuff. So don't break you my water gear while you're here. Oh, Telex puts down some serious terminology. Very appreciate it. Oh, appreciate it. Thanks for watching, man. I miss having fun with you guys. That's what it's all about, and really getting into some of this stuff. Ooh, Sealy, Tom, please tell him this like it's hard to explain, but you need just a couple drops to get those molecules flowing, get a little more breath. Picture like a difference between like a guy that's a marathon runner He's kind of winded. He's just kind of like, and then picture the guy that's got a nice big breath of. He got stimulated. Where he's like, I mean, it's a completely different experience. But just all it needs is just a drop or two. It's a huge difference. I think Tom's onto something here. I think that's why some people are getting into this, not maybe some not, but we'll see. I have to see on this. Moose is having the R Big Ten. Good choice. Good choice. I'm getting actually. I mean, Pete's still there, but I'm getting more of the honey, more of the vanilla, and some like more floral notes, like some goldenrod or something. Sweet corn. That's a nice nose. It definitely helped the nose a little bit. Let's see about the palate. Now I'm sure it's not going to be as stable in the legs, but Mm. Oh yeah. He'll think I'm crazy. Hold your ears, Lee. But Tom's dead on the water on the couple drops, man. Tom says, if I know I will add water, I pour a small dram so I don't corrupt the whole pour. I like to experiment. I'm an engineer, so I like to tinker. And I'm the same way, Tom. I work as an engineer for a living in IT, so I'm not afraid to take a really nice cast strength whiskey like a Springbank a 12 or it's a good cast strength of like an Ardbeg Coreyvrecken or a Kilholman original strength. That's good neat though too, by the way. But Optimore, something that's really really powerful. Give it a couple like minuscule. It only takes like I can't even measure this shit. It's so small. A micrometer would be too big. Just a little bitty bit just gets everything flowing so nicely. I'm wondering if the four dummies maybe they went from extremes. Maybe they had it neat, and like me, they were kind of like it's good, but it's . It's not. And then they probably added too much water to it, and then maybe they were like ooh, this is not good neat or with water. But if you are like me, and it sounds like Tom, and if you go in and you're like, okay, let's break this down into neat, a cut like a drop of water just to get surface tension breakage, I guess is the word for it, and then maybe 2 or 3 drops, and then maybe more on the lines of like a not a tablespoon. Table is a teaspoon or a tablespoon bigger, whatever the smaller one is. Go with one size of that. I mean, that's what I would probably try to go in as. And like Tom said, that's a good idea, Tom. I haven't done it that way, where I actually break it out into like 3 or 4 dram glasses, but have a neat, have a drop, have a 2 drop, have a 3 drop glass, and then kind of go down the spectrum. That's a good way of doing it. That's a very very definitive, particular way of reviewing one, and I think it's fair because you're getting the neat and down the road, because some drams do need a bit of water to do anything with. Thankfully, it's very few that I've run into that with, but some of those vegetal Glenords and Glen Spays and some of those really not so well known distilleries, they benefit from a little extra water in them just to tone down some of the vegetal stuff that you get with it. But I think you were onto something with this. Let's have another taste with just those 2 drops and see. see the buttery goodness, the oil, the vanillas, the cake batter, I mean, it's like sponge cake, pound cake. That comes through more with a couple drops. I mean, I still get my peat. It's just more of a refined peat in a weird way. It's young, and if I'm wanting that out of the gate, I'll take it. But for a better finish, a better experience overall, I'm thinking this guy with a drop or two really does a better job. Now, let's go for finish and see how long. That's probably the thing I'm going to ding it for, but we'll see. Thanks for coming by, Chad, by the way. Pepper's still there. A little bit. Still got some lemon. Buttery goodness. Angel food cake. It's funny because I know they're marketing this as a peated, whiskey. And it's not that it's not peated. It's just that when you add a little drop or two of water to it, it does take the peat down, but it makes it a better dram. Would I call it peated? I guess you have to because it has got some in it, but that's not why I would drink this. It's not the go factor on this one. I'm going to have a little more pour neat and see the difference on this guy. I just want to see. It's not as good as the 8 Highland. I will say that. I wish it was, but it's not. It's not that. It's not there. And the age, I think, does help, to an extent. 8 years might not sound like a lot, but it does make a huge difference. If this is like a 4 or 5-year-old whiskey, which could be, then you are going to get, your age. This only runs $55, guys. This is not a huge. This is, a cheaper Glendronach. It's cheaper than 12. So it's not like you're paying, $70, $80 for, or even close to $100 for it. You have to take that into account when you're evaluating some of this stuff too. I mean, of course, it's not just the price point. It does make a difference if it's good or bad. But for what this is, I think if you're willing to put a couple drops on it, it's far from being, disappointing. We'll put it that way. But don't add too much. Don't go all the time neat. Let's see what we get. And neat just, I mean, it's weird. Neat just does not have the overall round flavor to it. As soon as I add a couple drops to water this, I guarantee you it's going to be like, wow, it's a different whiskey. It really is. So the moral of this story overall is, fellas, I know some of you are against water, and that's okay. To each his own. Some of you don't mind playing with water, but you're heavy-handed. Don't be heavy-handed with the water. Get you a tool of some sort. It doesn't have to be this. It could be anything that will get it down to, I mean, we're talking a drop. That's why I use this. I don't use it to be cute. I use it because it literally is like an oversized eyedropper where I'm not like, having to be all scientific about it. But just add a drop or two. It does make a huge difference. I'm telling you. These guys in the channel will attest to, they'll back me up, I think, on that. Just a little bit makes a huge difference of bringing out that crumb cake, bringing out that, that spiciness, bringing out all these other elements that you're missing. I can't explain the science behind it other than I know that sometimes molecules need a little bit of a kick in the ass to get moving, and without a drop of water, I don't think there's a way to do it. You know, maybe heat, but I wouldn't want to put my Glencairn next to a freaking Bunsen burner and try to start burning this shit. I don't think that's going to work very well. Oxidation, of course, that does make a big difference. But other than oxidation, water is our only tool that we have to really use with helping out, other than blending. I wouldn't want to blend this right away. Oh man, I really love the cake that comes through on the that pound cake, man. If I'm not a huge fan of this song, but for some reason, as soon as I took a nose and took a sip, it reminds me of that Van Halen song "Pound Cake" back from the '90s or whenever it was when Sammy Hagar was still fronting them. That's funny. That's gonna be the theme of this dram, that's for sure. Now this guy will be a little more refined, little more of a pretentious song for the 18, but there's nothing wrong with a good old fashioned rock song, If that's what you're looking for, that's what you're gonna get. It's a great glass for $50, $55. I'm glad that I got one, and the guy in Maryland that has this has an exclusive on getting this. No other place in Maryland has this besides the place that I got this from, and will ever have it probably because he is big on exclusives. So, cheers if you're watching, Tom from Petite Cellars in Maryland. It's a good one. I like it. Needs a little help, but who doesn't ever? Sometimes you just need a little kick in the ass to get going. That's all. And sometimes water does it. Okay, I'm messing up on comments, so I'm going to catch up a little bit on here. Super deep review. Your nosing and tasting notes are truly inspiring. Oh, no problem, man. I try to dig in as much as I can. I'm no master, I would say, but I am trying to learn as I go and get more into it. I do love Scotch. I mean, you will rarely ever see me dabble in rums or vodkas, or I like vodka, but I'm not a student of it, or bourbons even. I'm from Kentucky originally, and just not my thing. But Scotch, oh my God, I love Scotch. and if you're ever watching there, Roy from Aquavite from Scotland, I still got your Lafroig hand batched deal. The guy is awesome. He sent me a hand delivered Lafroig, which I've never used. I didn't even know they allowed you to do that. And so I'm gonna have to do a review of that just to see, because I have a good feeling actually. It's gonna be really damn nice. And as you can see on that side, I'm a huge Lafroig fan, and I really appreciate it, Roy. I kowtowed to you on that one, and hopefully I can return the favor somehow. I don't know how quite just yet, because you probably had every freaking dram under the sun already. But I'll try to think of something that I'll email you in and see if there's something that you're having a hell of a time finding. Maybe I can find something to help you out with. It'll be tough to do because you're overseas, but we'll sort out something. Tamar says I need to dabble in some fine sipping rums. Oh man, I don't know about that, my friend. Scotch is so fun as it is. It's funny. I watch some of these guys. I'm not going to name any names, but I see some of these guys and they get into Scotch and they get heavy into it, and then they come to a point where they're kind of like, well, I feel like I need to dabble into bourbons and rums and Canadian whiskey and ryes and blah blah blah. I tell you what. I have had my share of Scotch. I've had over 200 offerings, but I am still just scratching the surface of learning about it. I could stay in just Isla alone And I mean, I've had a few, but there is still a lot more to try that I have not tried yet that would open me up to all these distilleries. Like Bunnahabhain, I've had, one, two, three, four, five, six or seven offerings by them. They still have at least three or four I haven't even touched yet. Same thing with Springbank, same thing with Ardbeg, same thing with Freud, same thing with all these guys. Kilhoman, I've only had 5 of these, owned. I probably tasted a couple other ones, but there's like at least 4 or 5 that I haven't even touched yet. So, there's still a lot on the board to try with a lot of these guys. And I'm looking forward to, trying all of them. Your live shows are so enjoyable and informative. Oh, thanks a lot, Magnus. I really appreciate it. Damn, you guys are awfully nice tonight. Give me a thumbs up before you go. That's awesome. Roy's in Texas this week. That's right. I heard that he was going to visit the Scotch for Dummies. Now, I heard they were doing some show. I think it was for the whiskey, the Austin guys, the Whiskey Vault down in Austin. They were doing a new distillery, which I am intrigued with. And I think they invited Roy and the Scotch Test Dummies, and they were having like a show out there. And I wanted to go, but the problem is I'm also wanting to go in New York here in December, and I can't go everywhere because I'm already taking off. I had to go to a wedding here in New York in August. Next week I'm going to be in Pennsylvania for a week with the family, and I might not be able to do a show next Thursday, which really sucks. So hopefully Mike from Birmingham Shenanigans from Scotch for Dummies can fill in for me next week. If I can't do a show, I'm going to try to do maybe something, but we'll see if I can find any Scotch to buy while I'm there. And New Macallan, I'll be in New Macallan next week. So hopefully I'll find something. If it was just one nice bottle, I'll go and try to pick something up and have a one location show maybe on the phone with you guys if I can. Figure out something. But either way, hopefully everything will fall into place where I can get to New York in December 4th. I've heard it's going to be KB, Bob H., the Scotch for Dummies. I'm sure other people are going to be there in New York. It's going to be a big to-do, so hopefully I can make my way there. I think even in Scotch Test Dummies talked about going up there. I'm not sure if they'll go to New York or not, but hopefully they get a chance. I never met them in person. I'm sure they'd be fun to hang out with for at least for a day or so if they can put up with me. But yeah, man. Oh, those guys have had so many different great offerings. Just picking their brain for knowledge would be fun, just even for just an hour or two on a few bottles here and there to see what they thought. Because I've had my eye on some bottles I haven't had yet, and it's always good to get a preliminary, like, what's this kind of like, before you shell out the money to buy it. Yeah, road trip big time. Yeah, New York is going to be a big deal. I'm going to have to, I haven't talked to my wife yet. I'm going to have to ask her if she's up for maybe going to New York, but it's going to be iffy. December is not the best month to travel in some places because of the snow. So hopefully it won't be a snowy early December if we're lucky. Thankfully, driving to New York from here is not that horrible if you don't go on a day that is Friday or Sunday. I made a mistake of going in on a Friday. That was horrible. Coming back on a Monday wasn't too bad. So we'll have to see about that. That's my game plan. But we'll have to see. Well, thanks so much, guys, for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Both good dreams. On this, got a score on the peated. Now, I'm going to ding it for a non-age statement. I hate to do that. And some non-age statements can hold their own. Ugadal is a good example. Corey Brecken. PX Casman from Lefroy. The Erlina Grain from Bunnahabhain. You don't need an age statement. They're just damn good, hands down. This needs some time. The water does help. This is going to be, I'm debating on a 3.5 or 3.75. It's a tough one. It's not complex by any means. It does have a good flavor, though. It's good flavor enough gives me the 3. Let's have another 7 to see what we get here. Hey, Hoagie. Oh, man. Hoagie shows up as soon as I'm about to shut her off. I gotta keep going for Hoagie. Good to see you, man. Hey, Hoagie, have you had what are your thoughts, Hoagie, on the Glengoyne 18 and the Glendronach Peated? I'm just curious if you've had both. What your thoughts on them were. Completely unbiased. I won't be offended if you hated one, liked one, by any means. I'm just curious of what you thought. I was about to talk about the score of this guy, and I will hold out for a little bit to see if you have a score for these two guys out of 5.25 increments. Just curious what you would give it. I already gave one on this guy. I'll talk about that right before we shut her off. And this guy, I'm still debating between a couple numbers. Let's see if what you say, Hoagie. I'm just curious. You might not have had this one yet. I'm not sure how readily available it is in Europe. It's the Glendronach Peated, if you're not familiar. Not the peated portwood, which I have had before, different bottle. But I have to say a similar experience in some way, minus one thing, and I'll get to that in a second. For the price, it's hard. It's hard to do. Okay, never had a Glengoyne 18, only 21 and younger. As for the Glendronach Peated, not bad. A nice sipper, but nothing to write home about. The Glendronach still comes through after a while. Good point, Hoagie, and I'm with you on that. One more small dram and another 20 minutes would be good. But prefer Glendronach from sherry casks. Yeah. But the Glendronach about 3.75. I seldom go higher than that on a Highland. They just like something from me, spending all the time. That's what Bobby Purnell is saying. Yeah, Bobby, you're onto something there. Yeah, Highlands and Space Sides are tough because I'm an avid Campbelltown guy at heart. I do dabble in Space Side because I love some good sweetness, and that's where you go in Space Side is for some good old-fashioned sweetness. Highlands are kind of hit and miss. The Glenmorangie stuff I think is pretty good. I think that's a Highland, if I'm not mistaken. I have to look it up, but I think it's a Highland. And their La Santa, Quinta Raban, and some of their private offerings have been outstandingly good. It's hard to find some other. I haven't dove into Glenfiddich, which I need to, and really try a lot of their offerings. Another one is Glenlivet. I haven't tried a lot of their stuff. I've heard Glenmorangie, the 18, is kind of and I did experience that at Expo, and I wasn't very overwhelmed. But their other stuff is really good. Glenlivet's, I've had the 15. I'm cool with that. The 12 is actually pretty good. Glenfiddich, same thing. 12 is pretty good. I mean, it's not outstanding, but the 15 Solera is really good. And the higher you get, I'm sure the better, quality. And for the price, for some of these guys, an 18, 21-year-old whiskey is not that much comparatively to like if you went with an Ardbeg or a Lafroig. Of course, you're talking crazy money once you get above a 15 or 18-year-old. So that's in itself, as well. Highland Park 18 is definitely one of the best whiskeys of all time. I will go out there saying that. I have not had the new Viking Honor, the new 18. I'm talking old school. If you see it up there, you see my bottles of Highland Park. Those are all the last series before they went all Viking on us. The Highland Park 18 straight up, the red bottle up there, that is always a go-to whiskey. Hands down, 98 out of 100, 4.75 out of 5, almost perfection. The 25 is really good with some because it adds some tropical notes to it. But is it worth the price difference? I'm not going to go there. 18 is where it's at. It's damn good. I hope when I do get a chance to try the Viking Honor, or whatever the new 18 name is, that that it's still got the same juice as that guy right there, that red guy right there has. Hoagie Bear says Glenmorangie originally featured a typically more spicy Highland style. This can be found in 80s, early 2000 bottlings. Oh, interesting, huh? Yeah, I'm not a big fan of their recent 10 standard core juice. It's a little too bland, a little too basic for me. But the Lasanta 12, the Kinzer Urban, the Nectar, the Astar, and the Two Sail I've had, I like all those a lot. Those are good bottles. The Milchon is the only one of the privates that I've had. I wasn't totally sold one, but you know. Spios is really good too. I like it. It reminds me of a lot of a good rye whiskey. If you've ever had a good rye from America, the Glenmorangie Spios is right there with it. I mean, you don't need to look elsewhere for a good rye kind of a whiskey, I'd say. But anyway, the Scout says HP 18 doesn't tickle my fancy as much as yours. Yeah, it's you know. It depends on what you're looking for, really. I mean, if you're an Ardbeg, Lefroy, heavy peat guy, of course, Highland Park is not going to be one of your favorites. As is if you're more of a Sherry Bomb, Abelauer, trying to think, Sherry, Macallan. If you're more of that kind of, intensity, you're not going to get, really wowed by Highland Park 18. But if you like a little bit of everything, you got a little bit of peat, you got a little bit of sherry, got a little bit of fruit, got a little bit of savory, got a little bit of bitterness, got a little bit of everything in a glass. The Highland Park 18 is what that is. You cannot deny that. I don't think anybody can deny that, really. The Alanta is very good. Scout, I do know where I can get a bottle of Alanta, so I'm gonna take you up on that. I'm gonna try it out. Haven't pulled the trigger yet, but I do know where I can get one. Hoagie says, have a bottle of the old Astar left. Been some years since last. Enjoyed it very much. Yeah. The one I had was a newer offering of the Astar, and I've heard there's differences between the two. I did enjoy the new one. I haven't had the old one. If it's even better, that would be pretty awesome, because the new one wasn't anything to sneeze at. I love that Missouri oak. The Missouri oak is this thing of its own. You can't find that taste anywhere else besides the Ozarks in Missouri. That oak is just something particular that you can't get. My fancy must hang lower. I even take it by the HP 12. Huh. You might not just be a fan of that heather peat that Highland Park provides from Orkney. It might be what it is, Moose, if you're not into it, which I understand. At first, I was not a fan of the Highland Park 12. I will say that when I had it at a restaurant. That's kind of like, I mean, it's okay. I kind of put it with the Old Pulteney 12. It's decent, a little one-dimensional for me. But the 15 and 18, I dug those a lot. And with the Old Pulteney, the 17 is in the 21 are both outstanding. So it seems like once you get to the 15-year mark on lots of whiskey, that's when you start to see a lot of shine. Hoagie Bear says, Glen Scotia single cast seemed to be the next thing. It doesn't have come out lately, officially and by independent bottlings. They seem to be heavily featured iodine, but not smoke. Huh, tried one yesterday. Brittle iodine. Well, the most elegant of malts, but very distinct and least. Huh. Wow. Everyone, are you still there? Oh, yeah, I think you are, because you just said, gotta run. Oh, you probably just missed it. Hopefully you'll get a chance to review at the end, everyone. But everyone and I are big fans of Glen Scotia, especially the 15. I have not ever tried an independent bottling of Glen Scotia. That would be interesting. Would be a single cask offering. Wow. I'm not sure if we can easily get that in America. Probably not. But if I keep my eyes out on some of these really nice online distribution centers like Greenwelly, possibly Whiskey Exchange, maybe an auction house like Scotch Whiskey Auctions or something. Maybe I can find something like that. That would be interesting. Hopefully, it's not going to put a hole in my wallet. Hey, Hoagie, what's the running rate euros there for a Glen Scotia Independent slash um, the the single cask offering? What's the euro rate that you have to put out to get one of those? I'm just curious because then I can convert and add a little shipping cost, and I'll probably get a good idea what it's going to cost me in America to pull one of those over, possibly. Um, if I'm just ordering one to the state of Maryland, I don't think they will give me a big deal about that. I'm pretty sure. As long as I'm doing low volume, they won't care. I think the whole single cask trend is all marketing to sell a NAS at a stupid high price. Huh. Yeah, I mean, that's that's you know, it's part of it. I'd say, Loch Ness. I think you're onto something there. But a single cask is got something. Like I had a Tomatin, and I'm not a huge Tomatin fan for like the 12 and the standard stuff. The Decades is really good, but the Tomatin 12 Basic or some of their really young stuff I'm not really into. Their single cask stuff is pretty good comparatively. Um, I think there was an age statement on their single cask as still being a 12, though. So I'm not going to say you're wrong on that one. I'm not going to say you're wrong. I think you might be onto something there. Um, it's a tough one, man, because it's like I hate for people to be trying to, dick us over with some of this stuff, but you got to be careful because you're right. Sometimes people, if they don't have the age, they'll try to throw something else at you to hook you in like a fish. If you don't have the coloring, or if they don't have the chill filtering right, or if they don't have, something, they try to hook you with something else and try to get you intrigued enough to buy it. And when you hear single cask, or first fill, or something like that, it's like, wow, is it really what it's supposed? Is it really as good as what it sounds like it is? And sometimes if you play with it, like i.e. this guy being a non-age statement and being kind of an iffy, neat, nah. If I overwatered it, I'm sure it would be kind of a nah. But if I add a couple of drops, I get something enjoyable out of it. It's not going to be a 5 out of 5 by any means, but it's going to be a 3.5, 3.75 maybe. I do like the taste a lot, man. I think Parnell's got me on this one. I think it is a 3.75. I don't know. It's hard to put a high rank on that on the NAS, and I've got NAS in the brain. It's like it's psychological. It messes with you. But it shouldn't, It's a tough one there. Single casks are often between 10 to 17 years these days and range from 60 to 80 euros for the younger, 100 to 220 euros for the older these days. At least the ones I've spotted, not always a bargain. Yeah, Hoagie, you're on to there. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I hope that none of these single casks that we see are 3 or 4 year old whiskeys. That would be such a crime. It really would be. But yeah, if you're talking 10 to 17, then I can't knock that. I don't understand if this isn't 4 or 5 year old whiskey, 7 maybe at the oldest. Why would you not put an age on it? That does scare me because Glendronach does put the 8-year-old statement on their Highland, which is really good. Much better than this, but I don't know. Don't tell Bobby, but I think I'm going to give it a 3.5. So 3.5 on this. A solid 4 out of 5 on this. I think that's more than fair. I can't wait. I cannot wait to try the 21 and 25 of these guys someday, if I can ever afford it. It's not easy. Yeah, bro, like I'm still going. I know it's crazy. My friend Hoagie from Germany came on board, and I just couldn't turn it off. Whenever you see Hoagie is you should check out his channel if he's still doing it. I think he does on occasion. He's a wealth of knowledge. He's had all types of whiskeys, all sorts of forms of whiskeys. He's done the Vegas of like benefices to Glendronachs, and he's dabbled in different things here and there, and definitely I definitely hold his opinion high on the mark on a lot of reviewers. So anytime that he stops by, I definitely will extend the channel for him. Bud is bait, yeah. Still going, yep. The NAS thing doesn't really bother me as long as the price is fair, and I really like the pre-roll. And Loch is completely right. Like the Ugadal is a perfect example of a well-done NAS. I don't need any fancy stuff. I just need it in the bottle. I can drink it neat. I can add a couple drops if I really want to, and enjoy it. One of the best it's in my top 5 of all time. Same thing with I'd say the lore of Lefroy. You know, there's some really young stuff in there, but you also know there's some 30-year-old stuff in there. No joke. And you know, some of these guys have to be creative with their stock. Scotch is so popular right now. I don't see how these guys are keeping up with you know, some of this make that they've been messing with for the last 30 years. They're selling like hotcakes, and of course, they're going to sell their 17, 18 up to 30 like crazy, and you're going to run out, and you got to do something strategically to make it sell. And I think that's where Lefroy is. I mean, they still have their 27 and the 32, but it's damn expensive. So if you want a little taste of a little bit of everything, I think the lore is a pretty good option. Bunnahabhain does the same with their travel retail exclusives with the Glengoyne and the Glengoyne, and you know, it's hard to keep up with that. Dark Cove, yeah, Dark Cove is a good option as well as a non-age statement that kicks ass, man. Logness is the NS. Okay, sorry. Hoagie says, do you also think the Glendronach Peated port is overpriced? At least here it is for an NAS. Yes, Hoagie. It's funny that you mentioned that, Hoagie. Now, this versus the peated portwood, which is a different breed. It's peated, but it's also a portwood. I did try that on an earlier review. Check it out if you got a chance on the channel. I was not a fan of the finish. The finish was non-existent just to me. Another bad point to that dram was it took 45 minutes, no exaggerations, 45 minutes for it to open enough for me to appreciate the nose and the palate on it. That to me is a lot of work. And for it not to have a finish after 45 minutes for waiting for a whiskey that's a non-age statement, I'm sorry, but that's not going to cut it. And that's why I gave the Peated Portwood by Glendronach a 3.5. I think that's more than fair. And, you know, I hate to be a knocker because I love my Glendronachs, you know, the 12, the 18, the 21 Parliament, all solid drams. You know, and I do like this peated to an extent. The peated portwood was a disappointment. I'll say it. So I think Hoagie's dead on with that. It's definitely not well priced. I think for NAS. Lotness says even the Deanston and Virgin Oak at under $50 Canadian is a Great Valley Scotch. You're right. Deanston is one of my favorite newer ones. I've only had the 18. And the Virgin Oak, those are two good ones. I want to try the 10PX, and I want to try the 12. I want to try them all, of course. So Deanston is one I need to get more involved in just to see what they come up with. They kind of remind me of Springbank because they do a lot of their own stuff their own way, which is always a good thing. Moose says demand for Scotch is huge. Supply is draining. Yeah. Hey, Swami, thanks for stopping by. Even though it's late, I appreciate it. Ryan says, Night Dog, nice show. Telex, thanks so much, Ryan, for stopping by. Really good to see Swami. Excuse me. Lightness says, Moose, so true. But can we all drink Macallan forever with the production of the new distillery? Yeah. They produce so much stuff, man. It's like I gotta get my hands on that four. I'm surprised Mike from Bourbon Shenanigans from Scotch for Dummies found that for them. As I've looked, I haven't looked hardcore yet, but I've looked at my local places here in Maryland. I've not seen it yet, so I've noticed there's a trend where East Coast and West Coast is having problem finding stuff comparatively of all places to Chicago. I do not understand why that is. If anyone can tell me why that is, I'd really appreciate to know. And this is not just for one distillery. We're talking Lafroig, we're talking Deanston, we're talking Macallan, we're talking several different distilleries from several different companies, not all under the same umbrella. So I'm wondering, what is it about either Canada or Chicago that is getting the whiskey first before the East and West Coast of the United States? That is intriguing to me of why that is. We'll find out. Because Chicago's been getting the Macallan 4 before us, the Fino Kerges from Lafroig before us. And when that happened, I was like, that's two things that are just not good for me. Trying to find stuff. I was like delayed by a month waiting for those to come through. Moose says he has not tried the V Oak. Love the 10 Deanston. Okay. Yeah, Virgin Oak for NAS is $35. You can't beat that, man. From what I've heard, 10 Deanston is probably a little bit better if I had to take a guess, but I'm going to show that for Swami. I would normally censor it, but what the hell, right? It's after 12. Who the fuck cares, right? Oh my, likeness. Let's see. It says Moose, I've only brought the Virgin Oak because that's all I can get from the LCBO from Deanston. So sad. That is sad. Jeez, man. Yeah, these state-run, if I lived in Pennsylvania or Virginia, I'd be kind of pissed, be honest with you. Thank God for Maryland, because if I had to deal with a state-run facility, man, I'd be all in their shit every freaking day about why don't you have this? Why don't you have that? Why do I have to go spend double the price on an auction and not even legitimately to get something that's worthwhile? It's just so freaking sad. That's my censored version of that, by the way. Moose says, thanks, where we have had the Mac 4, at least for the month now. Yeah, isn't that weird? It's crazy. My latest pretty expensive project is stocking up on this year's fish shill. Oh, level 18. Just love this stuff, Hoagie. Speaking of, Hoagie, if you ever come to America, my friend, I've got something waiting for you. Unopened, not touched, not tainted. It's still in the classic old bag. And I even have a sample that outside of it that my friend Prene was very, very gracious enough to part with, that I will take up on a review soon. And I've heard great things about the Fischl at 18 Lagavulin. I'm so looking forward to it. It's going to be one of those unicorn experiences. I have a feeling it's going to be outstanding. Which says we all know it's Swami. Great versus show today. Love seeing guys just put Scotch head to head. Oh, what did you put head to head there, Swami? I'm just curious. Yeah, I'm not monetized. Yeah, I'm trying someday. 200 I might hit. Yeah, you never know. I've got I got a ways to go, but I'm trying to keep it real. But I'm trying to hopefully get to the point where I can get a bottle here and there from somebody. I need a little help sometimes. I'm not I'm not rich. I'll put it that way. This is not. This is all not easily obtained. Put it that way. Uh, ECBP versus Stag Junior. You're probably talking either bourbon or Canadian whiskey, which is way outside my wheelhouse, my friend. I am more of a Scotch guy, but I appreciate the head-to-head. Anytime I get a chance to, I definitely will put a head-to-head up. That's for sure. You know what? This glass is empty, so we're gonna go over here to back to that Glengoyne 18, just to enjoy it while we're chatting here. I didn't know I was that close to 200. I thought I was still far away. So, thanks so much for the support, guys. I've had a Patreon channel up for a while. No one's ever even touched it. So I thought that was probably a waste of my own resources on that one. But I thought, well, maybe someday someone will feel, what's the word for it? Um, Not frugal, opposite of frugal. Donate enough to send me something. That would be awesome. Oh my. I should have like a pledge drive. Telex needs a new bottle. No, not a new liver. Not a not a new not a new anything, but just Hoagie is like regarding the bottles on your shelf. What's the full to empty ratio? They're mostly empty, my friend. Um, the spring banks are pretty much cleaned out, except for the 15. I'm still working on the 15. The Bunnahabhanes are definitely cleared out. The Lecheg, I'm still working on the 18 over there. The art bags are cleaned out except the Air Verdis. The Grooves is a new bottle. The Froigs are cleaned out except the Ankelmar and the 18 and the new carriages. The Kalilas are cleaned out. The Kilholmans are cleaned out. The Glenskoshas are cleaned out. The Beaumoirs are almost cleaned out except the 12, which I need to do a review on before I drink it all. And the Octomores, I've got some 6.1 still I'm working on. The Highland Parks have been cleaned out forever. The Independents are cleaned out except the Inchgower 14 and the Tinnick 10. The Taliskers are cleaned out except the 18. The Kilkerrans are cleaned out. And the Lagavulins are cleaned out except the Fishel 18. And I've got a Deanson 18, and I'm still working on a McKellen. I think I already cleaned out the McKellen edition too, actually. And there's one more over there that I'm forgetting about. I can't remember. I think that's about it, really. Everything else is pretty clean. So it's mostly for show. That's why I need help. I need donations because I like to drink this stuff so much, man. This has been my own, and I've had a couple people come over and share it with them, but it's been extremely rare. And most of all the drinking is all me. So there you go. Let's see. Loch Ness says, I've already told my wife that we're going to retire to another country where I can easily find any scotch I want to buy. That sounds great to me, man. I would love to go to Scotland. I think Isla or somewhere around there would be perfect. Have to watch both. Sound great. Yeah. Colorado, Loch Ness. Can you buy anything here? Huh. Telethon, yeah. The Telex Telethon. I like the ring of that. I gotta use that. Huggybear says to Loch Ness, if you ain't retired to Great Britain, come to Germany. All around best prices with greatest variety, even surpassing Great Britain in most instances. Huh. I'm surprised. Telex GoFundMe suffering from lack of scotch. Yeah. So all empty. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of it's empty, my friends. I have to say it. I love to drink it, and after about a week, if these will be gone, I guarantee you. Maybe 2 weeks. I do try to have a couple of dry days per week because I don't want to have cirrhosis, of course. So, but I'll go like 2 or 3 days a week, completely dry. Other days I'll probably have 3 or 4 grams. What the hell? put your arm in a sling for a thumbnail. Yeah, it's better to be a drinker than a hoarder. That's for sure. That's what I am, my friends. I'm here to enjoy it. Oh man, and I will be enjoying these guys. I was kind of scared from the Scotch for Dummies treatment of this guy at first, but after finding the sweet spot, not neat, not heavily watered, but just a couple of drops, it's actually an enjoyable bottle. Not as good as the 8, better than the Porter Peatwood. So $55, Eh, would I rather save 10 and go for the 12? Yeah, I probably would. So I'm kind of torn on this guy, but it's a 3.5, I'd say. A little better than average. 3 is my average, pretty much. And I'm going to stick with that. Well, thanks so much, guys. Cheers, Swami. Thanks for stopping by, my friend. I really appreciate it. Any help I can get for getting the word out on the channel, I really appreciate it. Please give me a thumbs up when you get a chance. Been really having a hell of a time and a good way trying all these out and trying to get you guys the best information I possibly can in a subjective manner. And I don't take anything from any distillery. I've never been given a sample. I've never been given anything. And if I was ever presented something, I would tell them up front, yeah, I'll take your sample, but I'm not going to give you any cushion or handicap on the review. If it's great, I'm going to tell you and tell my people that it's great. If it's borderline iffy, I'm going to tell them. If it's shite, I'm going to tell them. That's just the way it is. What's the next bottle? Oh man, sorry. Let me go back here. Hoagie says, I like to compare the Glendronach Peated with the Glengoyne 10 Curiositas one day. That would be a good one. I had the Glengoyne 10 straight up, and that's a good one. It kind of reminds me of Monkey Shoulder, a little better than Monkey Shoulder, of course. It's a single malt. I never had a Curiositas. I'm wondering if what that's like. If it's compared to, that's a good idea, Hoagie. I might try to do that one at some point if I can find that Curiositas and be willing to buy it, because I know it's one of those lower end bottles. But next bottle, not quite sure yet, actually. I usually kind of go on a whim. I just show up at the at my favorite local in Maryland and just pick something on a whim. This time I'm going to be on location next week, Thursday. So I'm not sure quite how I'm going to be able to do it, because I might be on travel. I should be back by then, though, I think maybe. I'm going to be traveling, I think, on Thursday, Friday area, so it might be iffy. If I can make it, then I might try to find something there in Pennsylvania and do a show, but I'm not quite sure what I'm going to pick up. It depends on what they have. That's the issue there. Thank God I'm on holidays for tomorrow or right off. Yeah, I hear you there. Hoagie says, Telex and the rest of the band, thanks so much. Yep. And thanks so much, Moose, for hanging in there with me. It's been a long one. We've been a little over when I expected, but that's okay. That's what we're here for. Saint Chava, and hopefully we'll get a couple good, at least one good one next week while I'm off. If I don't get a chance to do a show, I'll make up for it as soon as I possibly can. Thanks, guys. See you later.